We're ready to call this regular Board of Education meeting completed. Questions or additions to the agenda? Move to approve the agenda as presented. Second. All those in favor? Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Didn't receive any communications. Thank you for everyone coming tonight to the meeting and those online. We're going to for citizens now. No presentations. Next, we'll move on to consent agenda. Anybody has any questions on that?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Board reports? Yasmin?
I'll just commend the district on the communication. I don't know if everybody is feeling this way, but I've definitely clearly received communication about the telecommunication changes, the phone policies, parent square, how to enroll, school lists, all of that. It's been very easy to find when I needed it, so I appreciate that.
You can't figure it out, there's a better.
Yeah.
It's helpful.
I'd like to also give a shout out to all of our district employees that that really worked hard to get where we're at and start the school year throughout the summer for all the efforts and done to make this happen. So thank you.
On the Brett's report.
Yeah, so I asked a guest to come, so I'm gonna jump down a little bit because I know he has somewhere he needs to be for some kid stuff tonight. So Mr. Freeman's here and I don't want to speak out of turn. Would you be comfortable, Mr. Freeman, just kind of sharing where you are now with where you feel like you are with numbers and what that means? Would that be all right?
Yeah, because we're back here.
Come on up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't need to sit, that's okay. Been at the peak in the back for some less stuff today, so I've been sitting a lot already. Yeah, so with our junior high football program, we're looking at numbers there when we've been talking back and forth about what that looks like if we don't reach a specific number, 1 for active kids and 2 for maintaining the program. Where we're at right now, and so I was communicating with my head coach that's down there, which is Zach Milius, and the number right now confirmed, guaranteed is 7, which is up from where I was before. And we have some visits we're going to make. So we're looking at playing 6-man football, which we've done in the years past. We're not the only team in our district that does that, or actually in our league that does that. So the Wheat State League, there were 3 other teams last year. I'll have to go back and confirm that 2, I think for sure, but maybe 3 that did that as well, or have done a combined like 8-man and 6-man season. So that's nothing new to us there. The number I have in my mind is 9 for safety in terms of 6-man. 12 is the number I have in my head for 8-man. And so there's a homeschool family that's there that I'm going to communicate with as well about the possibility of a student there. We have other 2 that I've talked to parents there, and so we're just waiting for some confirmation back. But we're at 7, so we have a number that could go. The reason here, just talking about the possibility of if our kids that wanted to play didn't have the opportunity this year based on numbers there, will we have the opportunity to then be able to bring them here with your guys, the Clayton Middle School junior program for a year. It's just a one kind of one-off thing is what my thought is, to be able to maintain our coaching staff that we have. They would help to be able to bring them up since they're on staff, maybe not bust them, but drive them up to be able to help them participate, to give them great coaching, great opportunity. And then next year, looking at the numbers that we have coming in and the incoming 4th grade and 5th grade class this year, numbers are growing there. And I had a youth camp this summer, and we had I think the number was 13, and it was in like 2 or 3 grades in there, and they were all mostly upper. So we got numbers that are coming in, it's gonna grow that. So,
I'm not sure what the end of the schedule looks like at the middle school. To where they could even leave.
yeah, so we have
Yeah.
advisory
Right.
at the end of our day, so they will be able to then leave, I think. I have to go back and look, so it was 40 minutes, so I think it's 25, 30, 25 minutes, they'd be able to leave early for that, to be able to come up and participate with that. If that was something, that's a contingency plan that we're talking about. The ultimate goal is to be able to field our group. Coach Milius is excited about the group that we have. We got some good ones that are there, but trying to make sure that we get some young ones in. And that 7th grade group that will help continue to grow that. And we do believe in the years to come that it's going in the other direction as far as like numbers wise. So it would be a solid number that we'll be able to work with. So we'll be looking at that 12 to 15 range. So
I think the big thing for me was, as early conversations was, we've tried really hard to inform families early of any potential changes or impacts to activities or schedules and all the stuff. And so number one is we hope they get enough kids to have a 6-man program. That's plan A all the time. But the second part to that was we didn't want to wait to visit with you guys about it.
correct.
Because there were still evolving pieces to this, and,
Yeah.
and if we would have waited, we wouldn't have the opportunity to discuss with you guys until September. And so, with the future outlook and Mr. Freeman's opinion on that, if they wouldn't get numbers, our hope would be you guys would be fine with keeping our staff on staff and allowing those kids the opportunity to hop in a Suburban with them at the end of the day. Come over here for practice. And I think we even have some cross-country kids too. So if there's, we're already bringing a vehicle, my thought would be that we would, say it would be okay for those kiddos to hop in to, if we had to get there. As a short-term solution, not necessarily a long-term, but just to get us through so that we could give families plenty of notice in the future. And so I don't know if you guys have any opinions on that. Thank you for coming tonight. I
Questions you may
appreciate it.
about anything?
I just have 2 things. One, in the past, when the numbers have been close, previous administrators weren't sticking to that academic requirement. So I do ask that I would love to see 9 at least, so that the kids, if they're struggling and need to miss because of academic reasons, will actually have the ramification of missing.
Yeah, we're student athletes, so student
Yeah.
first, absolutely
So,
there.
I
So
know
that's
it's-
something that we,
It'll be great peer pressure, right? You
Yeah.
gotta pass this class because we need you.
yeah, yes.
And then secondly, thinking of your cheerleaders, you have junior high cheerleaders,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So if this does come to fruition and they're up here, we make sure that they get equal time on the track to get to do their performances too.
Yeah, no, that's something I thought about too, because that takes away, I mean, that's a night for them, that takes away from an opportunity that they worked hard to get to that position. So I'm hopeful that it won't be this contingency plan. Because we still have, Coach Milius has already contacted out some people, like every kid that's eligible. And then we've had some new ones that have come in, and I've been working with Shelley. She's been sending me information about new enrollees. So we actually have one that was one of the confirmed that said yes. And so hopefully within tonight or tomorrow, and that's what I'm getting back for all sport conditioning, that we'll have some that are there that haven't said anything, because sometimes they wait to the last moment to say something. Well, hey, we need to get your physical, get up there and get registered so we can have you on that. But yeah, grades, obviously, that's paramount.
Yeah.
So yes, and that's why it's a 9 for safety wise. You want to have kids that can be able to let them rest. And it's also within our own league. It's not fair to other schools for us to drag it out and then, a day or 2 before, like, oh, we don't have enough. So they need to know ahead of time, are we preparing for 8-man or preparing for 6-man? We have some that have told us ahead of time, hey, we're 6-man all year long. That's what Gossel was. And there's another school as well that had done that. Or they said, hey, we're co-oping, like Center was 6-man the year before. Then they co-op and said, hey, we're not gonna have a team. So you need to figure out, scheduling wise, how that's gonna work. So to let them know as well, because that's not fair to their athletes. You prepare for 8-man, now you're going to 6-man. You prepare for 6-man, you don't have a game. So we don't like that when it happens to us, and we don't want that to happen to anybody else.
So I guess any disagreement with that plan A and B? And so just a reminder, if the contingency would have to be implemented, the ADs would work together, sign a cooperative. We could submit that to Keisha. It's a pretty easy process, as we haven't, my super report that we are doing with cross country. Any other questions?
Appreciate you having played.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
That-
When we were doing building tours, some of the board had asked if we could have some of our property evaluated, and I put a report in there, a link in my report that kind of discusses that. And that appraisal process and what they think there. Tiger House is still out there. We talked about Wakefield football, bond update. So, July 17th was, the 50% construction documents completed. August 21st coming up here soon will be 75%. And, later in the month would be 100%. These are tentative dates, but they're coming closer and closer. They're looking at early September on holding the local contractor summit. Hopefully by the September board meeting, we will have Napholz and HTK here to go through some of their finalized documents and get your authorization to solicit bids. And then a little later in the month, if you guys would approve, they would release those documents for bidding. They would host I believe a day or maybe 2 days where they would invite any contractor that wanted to do a site walk or a site visit, that they would have the opportunity to be on site with Napholz, ask questions, look at the projects, that kind of thing. The goal would be, by the November board meeting, that we would be able to set GMP on both the bond projects and the capital outlay projects. So as I get more information and it gets closer, I will share that with you so that you guys can be prepared as much as possible to make those decisions in November. And then mid into late November, Napholz will start mobilizing on site. We've had some preliminary meetings with all of our principals and Napholz, so that our principals have shared where pickup and drop off is, where areas they might be able to work, where they can mobilize, where they can put a dumpster, where they can have a porta potty. And so Napholz has put together some maps, it has some safety stuff on it, where we want subcontractors and contractors exiting and entering our sites, so that we can clearly mark those and make sure we know who's who. And so Napholz will also include those maps and guidelines, our expectations for when they're working during the school year and outside the school year. So we're all on the same page, and we don't, to as much as possible, don't get crossways. And so it's been a pretty good process. Feels like it's taking a long time, but it's just, they're doing a lot of behind the scenes work, and just gotta stay patient, and it'll ramp up quick. Obviously from Napholz's perspective, it is a priority of theirs to safely start on any projects that they can as early as possible, because they want to hit their August deadline. And so we've talked about a lot of very preliminary things, but there's quite a few projects that might be able to be done during the school year, even up to some of our secure entrance work. They feel like they can build some temporary walls and create some alternative exit and entrance to where they could wall it off and be safe from students and work on some things to LED. They bring in big crews and they work all night. So we could do some of those things at night, as long as we have good expectations about cleaning up. Even to some playground work, if we could shut one playground down and maybe work on another one and shift kids during the year. Just lots of ideas and possibilities, but obviously all of those details will come as they continue to take us through the process. And then the substantial completion dates, obviously we're looking out a long ways here, but this is Napholz's tentative plan on how they're going to accomplish each site. And so any questions on that particular piece that I can ask or get information for you on?
I've had questions about the middle school parking lot. That's not gonna be during the school year, right?
It'd be summer, yeah, but That's a good question. I do believe they are considering the option of getting the bus lane done during school.
Oh,
Mhm. That is something that I believe I heard them mention as a possibility during the school year. But like the high school parking lot and things like that, they said, that just wouldn't be doable. We are considering the option of, as soon as winter sports are over, closing down the main high school gym and giving them controlled access to that space so that they could get started earlier in the spring, and then the PE classes could shift to the district gym. I know one of their biggest concerns right now, or things they're thinking ahead of, is the metal for entrances and exit. It has a really long lead time. And so as soon as we get design approved and GMP approved, I know they're wanting to get some of that stuff on order so that lead times aren't creating future delays.
And they have all the, like I call them geotech, they call it core sampling.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's completed and
Mhm.
turned in and for analysis, good.
Yeah, they core drilled all the parking lots, including the middle school, and anything they were doing underground were drilled and checked, so. One thing hanging out there, we had some pretty big rains, and Craig, feel free to jump in, and we had some water issues at Wakefield new gym. And some water intrusion. Craig was down there over the weekend multiple times, but
Got a couple of dehumidifiers in there. It's coming down, but it wasn't nothing like the middle school.
and so Craig's been in contact with a local contractor to go out and maybe,
Put some drainage tiles in front of both double doors. If that's possible. I don't know about handicap. Whether we put a plate with holes in it, just to keep it from getting to the door. To those west doors? Yes. And they've got that walk around playground at Millings there. And it's just flush with concrete, and I think that 2-inch rain or whatever they had the other day. It just come down there. Or maybe I'm gonna look at the roof tomorrow. If there's something up there that's causing in there.
but I only bring that up because it could be a sizable, it won't be. But it will be probably a sizable bill to take care of that water, but we talked about waiting for bond, and we just felt like it wasn't worth risking more water into the building, and so. Craig's taking the lead on that, and it's gonna find a way to remedy that, so we don't have any future issues, so.
Talking about that. And it's not the middle school, it's up there, CCCHS on the north side of the building. In between that and the district gym. Then I noticed on past tours that there has been some water. That's been standing there against the foundation itself. From the roof drainage. From the downspout drainage and things like that. Is there, do we have, I know I brought that up in the past, is there some type of mitigation measure that we're using to either bring in either soil to slope that water
So,
away from
That's a
the,
good question,
building?
Dave, and right now, that's part of the exterior envelope scope
Okay.
that we're putting out to bid, and so that was part of our expectations, and that will be part of the scope of the exterior improvement work, drainage, water, caulking, all of those kinds of things, there's a fancy name for what they call it in the scope, but
right?
yes, that is a part of what will be addressed with bond issue work.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions for Brett?
If everybody else on, I know you asked for somebody would like to set in on some of those meetings.
Yeah.
Nobody else on Warrensboro, I wouldn't mind.
Okay.
I think I have the time to make most of them, just to be a link between the board and.
That'd be
that
great.
Question.
August 17th is gonna be a big day, so. HTK will be here, and we will start here at 10. And then it's every hour for the rest of the day. We'll go to a different building, and HTK will review the 50% design and all. So, and I know Jason said if we need him, he could probably call in and listen in too, so. But anybody's welcome to come to any, but if you think you're wanting to come, just make sure you let August know so we don't risk having more than 3 years there. And I'll try to keep you guys updated with some of the bigger dates and bigger meetings, and that way if you wanted to attend, you're welcome.
On public report.
Thanks for having me this evening. So first, our assistant director did start. I wanted you to know that. She started the same day as the principal, so June 22nd. So she's part-time assistant director, part-time school psychologist, and that is going well. We're off and running. Danae Meadows is our MIS Medicaid admin assistant. She is working on collecting incoming students who are entering and on IEPs. And then we are working on staffing, which is a little bit of a moving target at this time of year because we have where we left off with staffing at the end of the year and the positions we had. But staffing in special ed is always based on student needs. So we're constantly reviewing student minutes and kind of making decisions and keeping people in the loop on those decisions. So we have a couple positions that we're still trying to fill, but otherwise have most of them filled. And we'll continue working hard towards making sure that we get them filled. And then we've also had a few professional developments. We had our new licensed staff all here for training. Then we had the Paris here on August 3rd, around 75, and that went really well. We did MANT training on the 4th and 5th. And then I was able to attend the Lynn district kickoff today. And then of course, 379 tomorrow morning. And then we'll have our TELAC certified licensed staff with us on Wednesday morning and then MANT again in the afternoon. So other than that, I will open it up for any questions that you have, or maybe you want me to elaborate on other items or anything that I talked about.
Thanks for the report.
Appreciate the report.
Very detailed, thank you.
Jason, you want me to go? You okay?
I'm just waiting. Any other questions?
No, okay.
Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Okay. In my report, I listed our mentors and just kind of our schedule, coming up this week and next week. And then, at the bottom, I did talk a little bit about our bus accident drill we're going to do on August 13th. We are going to use a country route. All of our county emergency partners are participating and helping. Matt will be sending out communications not only to the parents and staff, but to the community as well. We also have signs we're posting that say the crisis drill in progress, just so people know. We have, we're gonna do some cross training on our side of it. And so we have people, doing some or observing areas they maybe normally wouldn't have, just for, like I said, for some cross training. So we will do a follow-up meeting, Mr. McCoy and I, and possibly if Mr. Nelson can come with the county officials next week. And then we have a follow-up crisis team meeting a couple weeks after that. Just to review, we do have some people that are going to be in positions just to take notes on how we're doing, ask questions, and be able to get some feedback on how it goes. So things that didn't make it into the report, just with the deadline, is our tech recycle payment came in. It's about 17,000. It's 16,980. That is pretty good. We did keep some of last year's seniors, and we're using those for parts as we need them, so we don't have to order pieces from Apple. And then I did find out that our E-rate was approved, So I had asked for that ahead of time, but it ended up coming through just fine. So that was all good. And then I went ahead and gave you guys a paper copy. This is just a big high level overview of all the different things we have in place to keep our kids safe when it comes to the internet. And so we used to use 2, 3, or 4 providers depending on the year, and we have it all now bundled under one suite, which is really nice. When we had multiple providers, they didn't mean to fight with each other, but they fought with each other. And so this is kind of nice to have it all kind of in together. So wrote a little bit in here about our filter that's in place, as well as our alert, which monitors anything concerning and alerts us right away. We're going to be opening up Lightspeed Classroom. And so next week I will be starting to touch base with teachers on that and help them. We have the hall monitor piece, which is really just that real-time accountability and helps us run reports. The Lightspeed Insight, that's more of our software usage and compliance. Like Speed Signal. And then we continue to use is now part of Lightspeed, the Stop It app that kids can anonymously report things to us. And then our Stop It Notify is for our crisis team. We also have the hospital and leadership team as well as county officials on that as well. So we can alert them in one text. We can tell all groups of people kind of what's going on. So I did address a few things at the back too, that our K-8 devices only work on our internet. So if someone decides to sneak one home, it won't work. So the 912, those kids do need that flexibility. It still runs through our filtering, but we do have VPN detection and can kick that off if that trips on. A lot of monitoring. If someone tries to circumvent any policy we have in place, it will alert Mark and Chris, and then we can deal with it from there. So there'll be a few bugs we have to iron out the first couple months for sure, but that's what we've been working on this summer. So I am doing a presentation on some of this at Clay Counts in September because they do help in their grants. They give us a portion to help pay for that Lightspeed alert. So which monitors the concerning online activity. And we've been utilizing parts of these alerts for 4 or 5 years, would you say? And if something is concerning and we don't respond to the dashboard, they call us. They call either the principal or me, and if they don't pick up, they call me, and if I don't pick up, it calls Brett. That includes at 11 o'clock. If it's after hours, it goes just to Brett or I. So we've received
They're really good about
calls at
elevating
11
them.
p.m.
If it's
2 a.m.
If it's student safety risk, really content, something going on that computer that's alerted, that's concerning, it will go all the way through the ladder. And if we don't answer, it goes directly to the police department. And we've had multiple times where the police have deployed in the middle of the night. When they can't get a hold of us, they will go to the house.
Yeah.
Any questions for Jacqueline?
So as far as tech staff playing all that, you felt good about last year and
Yeah.
we're sticking with that same plan.
Yeah, moving Jenna over was really good. I'd like to steal Tabitha, cause she's done a really good job this summer, but I know she also works for the after school program. So unless we have somebody else interested in that, we'll probably keep with what we did last year. So that second half. So
Yeah, Jacqueline, since technology continues to advance, especially with our internet management and then plus our website blocking
Mhm.
capabilities, and then plus what all that you elaborated on here, which is great. That's happy to see this. Then, since we have more involvement of artificial intelligence coming online, has been online. Of course, it's part of our, technology curriculum
Mhm.
at the same time for our students. Then, you see, I know, I was looking through on our internet use permission form in our policy under section J, for students. And it was adopted in August 11th, 2014. I was reviewing it. Do you see any need then in the future that we'll have to revise this or?
Possibly, so.
Okay.
The policy as AI has progressed, it's that balance between embracing it for the good and then also knowing where it's maybe cutting a corner and not serving the purpose that we want. So instead of going after any policy change, we basically have it into the handbooks where it talks about unless the teacher has directed you to use a specific site, it could be compromising the integrity of the learning. Therefore, very similar consequences to plagiarism. So that leaves that on the teacher. So it has, um, the things that a freshman is doing compared to a senior is different. We're running into this right now where our seniors, we want to allow them at least second semester to be able to get on their personal email. We want them to set up scholarships and FAFSA and do all those things with personal email. But when we do that, it changes some of the things we block, if that makes sense. So we're trying to navigate that, and I have those teachers involved on that as well. For sure. But right now, if there's any concern, instead of, because it is so changing that policy every month, we've
Yeah.
tried to find statements that kind of cover the mission and put it into the handbook. So,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if this program gonna have the enrollment numbers. I mean, are they what we expect pretty much?
Oh, yeah,
Or,
I can look at those.
is there any big fear type of thing? Just kind of.
I laugh because this is the time of year where I'm usually hounding everyone in the office to find out where we are, what we're, and it's too early right now. We just haven't had enough info yet, but,
I can get.
I don't know if we have enough trend data yet, but I'll
Yeah.
keep you guys in the loop.
Yeah.
For sure.
Move on to business items. First one's 26, 27 graduation dates.
We asked the building administrators, this is their preference, if it is
Yes.
gonna hit at least K-State's graduation again.
Yeah, this was following our admin meeting, their recommendations.
I move to approve the 26, 27 graduation dates as written.
Second.
All those in favor? Next, budget presentation.
So I will,
Are you sure you okay with me driving?
you want me to just,
No, I don't care, but I'm just saying.
is that easier? If I drive. Hit Apple TV.
No, I want you to use this. Yeah,
Might be easier than I need to jump around a little bit.
Yeah. there you go.
Thank you.
Just stick it over. I'm saying these.
And by the way, we are in the process of getting a vote to fix this whole system. How many years old did you tell me? You
I
found
think
out
it's
it was?
18.
18 years, 18-year-old technology, and it's on the fit.
Go on it.
It's as old as our seniors.
I gotta,
You gotta drag over. There you go.
Okay, a lot of this stuff you guys already know, as we talked about at R&R. You guys did give us approval to submit for publication an R&R of 49.625, which is 1.39 mils down from last year. As you know, the 3-year average continues to soften enrollment loss, but the cushion gets smaller and smaller every year as we drop off our larger numbers. So this was really interesting, and I'll dig more into this later on in the presentation, but so when we take all of those additional funds, we separate general fund because we have no control of the 20 mils. The state takes those 20, it goes into the pot and it gets redistributed. So of our local tax funds, LOB, bond, and capital outlay, when we combine all of those funds together, this year we are budgeting to bring in about 1.83% more than we did the year before. And that's a little tricky because that removes any delinquent tax. So every year we bring in delinquent tax throughout the year that we didn't collect the year before. And so really of what we actually collected last year, it's only 40,000 above last year. But I'll dig into that. It's kind of something I learned a little bit about as we went through. So here's a chart that shows anything that's beyond in this presentation is beyond this year. Right now I have it projected at a -10. It's a moving target. I can't tell you if that's going to happen or come to fruition, but so this is a chart that shows the enrollment, the school year, the funded FTE, and that's based on the 3-year average. And then this column over here, that shows how many kids we're getting funded that we don't have because we get to use the 3-year average. And so as you can see, we really start to ramp down as we drop off that 1284.4.
Those did last year.
So as long as we don't increase in enrollment, we should continue to qualify for 3-year average. But it just, that high number bumps off, and then we use 1222, 1179, and whatever this year ends up being.
Okay.
Is the average, so that average starts going down.
Gotcha.
What do we know now? We know based on, this is what we were funded on, and so it's kind of tricky. So 35.3 less funded kids. Does that make sense? And so it's using the 3-year average number, what we were funded on. And this year we already know what we're funded on because it uses year prior or 3-year average. So we're going to receive funding for 35.3 FTE. Well, how do you figure out how much a student accounts for? And this is where it gets a little tricky. And so if you look below there, it says that 5778, that's the base aid per pupil times the number of students that we lost. That doesn't account for weightings though. And so when you take in the number of the amount of students we're funded for with weightings, it's 1,900 and some. And you divide that by our legal max and general fund and LOB, it's actually about $7,500 per student. You put all the weightings in. But again, that's kind of a moving target and base estimate. That base increase was $163 per pupil. So that kind of shows that enrollment loss versus base increase is kind of a wash right now. So what do we know? So much in school finance in this time of year is an estimate. Like we are using data, what's happened in the past to make our best guess as to what's going to happen the following year, especially as it relates to weightings, enrollment, all of those types of things we have to estimate, and we always estimate a little high so that we ensure that we have budget authority. That doesn't mean we're gonna spend it. It just means we budget for some budget authority. And when you go down line by line in our budget, it will show the actuals. And for those of you that have been around a while, you remember on each budget code, you'll find a line at the bottom that says other. And you'll see that we didn't, generally speaking, you'll see we didn't spend any money in that line the year before. And so that money, that authority is sitting down where it can't be used. It's not in a budget. It's not planned to be spent. We're not gonna spend it, but it's budget authority. What do we know? We know we graduated about 92 last spring, seniors, and we're bringing in about 81. And again, it's an estimate. We're thinking about 75 at Lincoln, 6 at Wakefield. So we know the cohort change is 11. Now there's going to be a lot of ins and outs through the rest of the grade levels throughout the year. And so generally speaking, usually when kids leave or move, we generally tend to bring in about, say, in and out. Last year was a little bit of an anomaly. And here's the risk, though. And I want to be clear, it's not a risk for this year, it's a risk for next year. But if we would happen to bring in just one more student than we did last year, we would not qualify for the 3-year average next year, and we would then shift to current year or prior year, whichever's higher. And that would be a significant loss of revenue in 1 year.
Is that only based on September dates?
September 20. Yep. And so I'm fairly confident there's a low risk of that happening, but it's important to know the causes and effects of that. So we project this out, and as you can see, it's all an estimate. If we project for a 10 student loss, you know, what that looks like and what that would do. Assess valuation was a big topic this year. And so assess valuation is always based on the valuation from the year before. And so, or they estimated, and then they give us the actual. The interesting thing here, and I think it's my next chart. I'm glad to say I was wrong on this one. I've been talking to you guys a lot about losing state aid. We're actually going to get a little bit more this year. And as what that means is, in the ranking, a lot of the Kansas districts are doing the same thing that we're doing. Their valuation's going up and they're dropping enrollment. So our assessed valuation per pupil is keeping pace with everybody else. So where we fall in the ranking, we're actually getting, it's not a lot, it's a little bit more valuation. Now, this big jump this year could have a pretty large impact on next year. I don't know, maybe all the other districts in Kansas will keep up a similar rate to us and I'll be wrong again. But I don't think we should plan on a consistent revenue source in state aid. And so here's that slide I was talking to you about a little bit ago. So you take those 3 local tax rates. So last year, that was our actual collection in dollars. That's the revenue neutral, which is lower than what we actually collected. And which threw me for a loop, because if this is what we actually collected in dollars to the penny in local taxes. Well, the county told us our R&R is about $40,000 less than what we collected, meaning that to stay R&R, we didn't have as much wiggle room. And the conclusion that Andrea and I came to, what we believe it is the difference. We can't count delinquent taxes from the previous year. So they take that out of the amount we collected. Then that's our actual R&R rate. But truly over what we collected last year, we're collecting 1.13% more this year than we did the year before, or about $40,000. And I skipped over this, but that's the levy. 49.625, down 1.39. So then this is the same chart that I use every year that just gives you a 3-year snapshot of where we are. The good news is with LOB, the biggest factor there is when we budget for LOB, we have to make our best guess for how our Clay County citizens are going to pay their taxes. Are they going to pay them on time? How much of that revenue are we going to bring in the 12-month period versus the 18-month period? We have to calculate what we believe our delinquent rate's going to be and what our delinquent rate is for each quarter throughout the year. And so that does get a little bit tricky, and you can only spend your authority in LOB, and then whatever's left is your cash balance in LOB that you carry over. And that can fluctuate that levy 0.5 to 1.3 or so a year. And most of it is based on how we calculate or estimate that tax collection piece. And it's what we've done the last several years, is tried to keep that very consistent and not change our assumptions very much. And that's really helped keep our levy, our cash balance in that fund steady, which really helps with the mill levy. As Dale Dennis would always say, I'll never, for my first year doing a budget 8 years ago, well, Brother Nelson, it looks like the residents of Clay County, Kansas like to pay their taxes on time. If you ever know Dale, he's still around. So evidently we pay taxes in Clay County pretty well compared to others. And so this is where the groups that we compare with and where our levy falls within that. This is last year's levy, because I don't know anybody else's levy for this year yet, because nobody's published them, but this is last year's levy. We did update that for this presentation. And so here's the state aid that I was talking about. So you can see LOB went up about 1%, capital outlay 2%, and bond and interest 1%. You might go, I didn't think we were getting it for bond and interest anymore. Well, we get it this is our last state aid payment for bond and interest, because we collected for last year state aid, and they always pay that at the end of the year. So we got that in June based on the new rate. And so we got a couple $100,000. And why? Because that was last year's collection that we collected for. They sent all the money to Topeka, redistributed it, and that's what we get back in aid. And we use that to make our last bond payment in September. And so moving forward, we will not have a state aid column for bond and interest anymore. But it should be offset pretty well, because we'll get to use that additional valuation instead of aid. And so I think it'll balance out pretty well. A little bit of information about negotiations, where our base is, what we contribute to healthcare, our best guess at kind of retirement exposure, who's eligible and how many in the next year or two. That doesn't mean we're gonna, all 34 are going to retire. That's just kind of our risk. And then board actions and next steps. August 10th, we'll review today we're reviewing the proposed budget. And that is with the 6.5 and capital outlay that you guys approved last month. And then in September, how you guys have done it in the past is you open the meeting, you hold the revenue neutral rate hearing, open it for public comment, and then it's followed by the formal budget hearing. I did read somewhere, Dusty, that I think from KSD or KSB, they were recommended to put actual times So that might be something we want
The
to do.
times that the hearings are supposed to start.
So 6 o'clock and 6:05, or 6 o'clock and 6:02. And that way, there would never be a misconception that you did multi. So I don't know how you feel about that or not, but
I mean, if you. Your minutes, I don't know, but I guess I hadn't seen that. Your minutes are gonna reflect that you had the meeting. So
Sure.
they doing these at 6 o'clock.
and
And the-
remember, we used to do them at like 6
Used
to
to
6:15.
Right, right. And so if you set them for specific times, it would just. You want that first one to be short, because you can always start it late, but if you publish. At 6:30, you may end up with a gap in.
The code 99 hasn't been 6 o'clock.
Oh,
So
there you go.
what's gonna run in the paper one say
6 and 6:01.
Say 6.
Anybody opposed to that?
But if people show up to talk and just, the second we just start late.
Right.
That's why I just want to make sure everybody knows, because I think it could look bad to have a
1 minute.
A 1 minute
Right.
hearing for the public to comment. People see that and say it was only 1 minute.
That's true.
That's the negative side of it.
best.
So,
We could stay with 6 o'clock and just make sure August does a really good job that. Budget and
Knows
each
when it
knows
was over.
budget hearing was closed. Open. Or not.
One, I like the wording of the motion that says the first one starts at 6 and the second one follows immediately, so that does give us
Yeah.
the wiggle room. And if they want to be at the second one and they're here at 6:01, that should come.
And then I won't bore you reading the narrative part of my report, but it should follow kind of base outline of strategy, next steps, things that we might be concerned about in the future, those kinds of things. But if you do have any questions about the narrative and the report, please let.
Brett, I got a couple of things. Sure. No, I haven't had a lot of time to look over it.
Sure.
Things, but one in general is, when we left the last meeting, we still didn't know how the new property from Cloud County was gonna affect our revenue. Know any more about that?
In regards to the reimbursement piece or in regards to just the valuation?
Just evaluations and.
So right now it's estimated that that new chunk of property is worth $2 million and some change. And so that's included in that 7 million.
Okay.
And so that 2 million estimate right now is reflected in the R&R.
Okay.
And so like Kayla had to add that 2 million to the R&R. And so with, I guess another way of saying that, if we wouldn't have taken on that new property, our valuation would have increased by 5 million instead of 7 million. In regards to, and that's one of the big reasons they were pretty cautionary on, that it was an estimate. And then once they do whatever they do, evaluation, verify it or whatever, then in November it gets certified. And then in November, that's what our actual R&R is built off of for the following year. In regards to any leftover money that 334 had is going to be divided among the 5 districts based on the percent of valuation of the whole. And so a challenge we're running into, or they are, is essentially they're not an operable district anymore. And I won't bore you with all the details, but with last tax payments and some flow through and some different things, it's been really difficult because the state was actually still cutting checks to them, but they no longer existed. And that money is supposed to go to them and then flow through to us. And so Andrew's done a good job managing that, but coordinating with banks on how we get that money into our account. We've requested, when it does come time to divvy up what they have left, which should be here in a couple of weeks, I would think. We've requested a cashier's check, so we don't encounter that issue, or maybe ACH, I don't know. We gotta figure out how we're gonna do that and how. So they don't have anybody to sign a check right now is the real problem, like, because they don't exist, and so we'll work through that and figure it out, but the real impact of it is 2 million additional dollars to our assessed valuation, and so 2 million per thousand, so it's a pretty small impact, but it matters.
Just at the last meeting, they went for sure.
Yeah.
I know what they said, so, and then my other one, just in general, is that, you know, when I look through it, is that, you know, there's over $3.5 million in other. With all the different categories. You know, that's a lot of money to not specifically. You know, it's kind of like, putting a miscellaneous or whatever, but I don't know if you can pass along some information, just explain what other is, or by the next board meeting, you know, what all those others are.
Sure.
You know, that was probably the biggest question, just by glancing through it the first time. Was just kind of, like I say, I didn't have much time and
Sure.
we got a month, but, that was the main question that I had, just overlooking, is the explanation of what that is.
Sure. Yeah, we can work on that.
And then, if you're done, Tracy, I just had a question, so, and I was just proceeding on to, you know, through the budget presentation. And I noticed on page 58 of the FY 27 budget presentation, then I see we got HVAC lease that, still in there. I'm showing the payments due July, December 2027 and $115,219. Is this part of the payoff that we approved last month?
Yeah, Andrew, you want to explain that?
Yes, it is. So when because the action happened in this fiscal year, we fill out the budget as if this is what was due. Because you take from the start of July 1, and we did that at the July meeting. So it will be an expenditure that had to be budgeted for this year. So it's reflected that that's in that payment debt schedule, what debts we had. But since July 1, we then made action to pay it off. So then if you get into capital outlay, you'll see that it was budgeted at like 800,000, and we have paid it off. So it's because all of that happens in this budget cycle, we had to illustrate it the way that we did have that debt when we started this year. We have since paid it off.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions on the budget? Okay, we'll move on to city sidewalk easement.
We need to make that motion
Yeah.
and get back to it. I move to approve publication of the notice of hearing for the 2026-2027 budget with an estimated total mill levy of 49.625 to set the revenue neutral rate hearing for 6 p.m. on September 14th, 2026 at the Stewart Administrative Center, and to hold a budget hearing immediately following the revenue neutral rate hearing.
Second. Favor? Okay. Now we'll move on to city sidewalk easement.
I think we've talked about this for a few months, and city, Dusty.
Yeah, I finally got this survey description there. This is granting an easement, city for the sidewalk in.
And it stops there, this covers, just stops there where ours goes to right now,
Yeah.
right?
I didn't talk to Brett about, I just saw where the flags were asked, but, you know, there's no dirt ledge that they're gonna have a retaining wall, and he said that was in agreement.
They had a budget line item.
Sure, that's all coded down.
Do you need action on that?
Yeah, you need the motion to approve.
Now with that, with the city, since they've received that grant, they're moving forward with it then. on the sidewalk in the CCC of MS property, then would that reduce some of our potential footage on what we had budgeted for the sidewalk in that area?
We
That's
budgeted
what
the
I'm
south
curious
side
about.
the way I understand it.
Whatever budgeted.
We budgeted for the south side. They're coming down from the north to where we're at now. And we budgeted from there on to the corner.
And that we will confirm that, I believe, when we see 50% designs, we'll confirm that it was to the south and not to the north.
Okay, I just wanted to, clarify that to see if, if that was included prior to.
I mean, I do appreciate the city thinking of us and doing that.
Yeah.
To get that sidewalk on the north side without it coming out of our money, different grant. So it's very much appreciated on their part to do that.
All right, thanks.
I move to approve the sidewalk easement as presented.
Second. All those in favor? The next one's the activity fund and purchasing and activity funding.
Yeah, so this is something that's been kind of in Andrea and I's vision and dream for a few years to put everything in one place, just for ease of use of our employees and our staff. And so, well, this will evolve over the year and it will probably change some between now and next year, but, a few things that we're doing this year. So we're providing, training to all of our, secretaries, SAC staff, anybody who handles money, anybody who can enter a bill. And then with our administrators are holding meetings with coaches and sponsors, anybody who does fundraisers, donation, any of those kinds of things. And so, our ADs are gonna annually train all of those people each fall using the sections that apply to them within the handbook. And then, we did a principal guidebook a few years ago and it's been really helpful and it's been a ongoing document. So for little things, when we have a new principal here, the things that principals only do once a year, it's a document that they can reference and it's like, oh yeah, here's the procedures, here's the steps, or for a new people. And our hope is that this document will serve as a reference for both our existing staff and new staff too, so that they won't be guessing about what expectations and rules are. And it's a landing spot for them to go and take a look at. And I don't know if it needs to be board approved or not, if it's a procedural thing, but I wanted you guys to be aware it's a new document, what it looks like, the steps we're taking, and knowing that it will evolve and change over the course of the year. I'm sure we'll find mistakes or things that we need to tweak, but I don't know, Dusty, does that sound familiar?
I mean, I would think you would go ahead and have the board make a motion to adopt the handbook or approve that handbook. Yeah.
And we could wait, you could do first read, second read next month. I mean, I don't know that there's any rush. We're using it as a basis. Have used it and are using it as a basis for training this year, so. I don't know that I have a strong.
We're just for the next month, we can look at it. Let's do that.
On page 6, 1.6, that first bullet, just knowing what is at my employer. No employee should approve a transaction that directly benefits the employee. Maybe we want to add the words or family member.
Okay. Andrea did a good job on it.
Any questions? Next page is budget. Budget approval. Executive session, take a 5-minute break. Yeah. So,
First of the month, they can all, everybody gets their name, so they're all.
Black and white.
um,
Yeah.
very small, too.
Go down from the other.
Whatever you want to do.
When it starts. A month like that, and it releases, they can move in, you know, the first of the month, that. First of the month, they're all moving in. It wasn't to get out of mom's head out and just back at school where they. Enjoy themselves a little more. At least it doesn't hit campus and the classes actually, so. A little nice. Don't know what days that, I mean. They're actually.
First, we might just sign a sidewalk easy.
I think it says Brett underneath it. I thought, but you didn't do, but I think at the bottom it says.
It's one of those things, that's like I don't enjoy happening.
I just-
I don't know the actual date. It's like they just show up instead of fret about it for a week. Yeah, it's just the day it happens. It's like I have to get classes started. So,
I hope that's-
Put the Band-Aid up quick.
Is the construction impacting your parking, Andy? Do you have your own spot?
We're in the process.
We've got a couple reserved spots that if I can get out, but usually if you get there early enough, it's not bad. And you can get, it doesn't affect that lower bit. It's actually, there's a lot of people that are worried about it, so that lower lot below Waters is, there's a lot of parking there and it's. I usually park out in the gardens. But that lower with my walk, you know, behind Waters, it's about the same distance if that one gets full, but.
That's part I don't miss working at K-State. It was.
Yeah.
Get there earlier, you might as well be.
Yeah.
Alright. Why don't we go into executive session, to discuss personnel matters, percent of non-elected personnel exception to KO and then. Open meeting showers at 7:20. Executive session shall include. Board superintendent council.
So.
Barry?
Okay.
funeral. Yeah. Pretty good on custodian. So, I'm going to approve the early graduation request as long as all graduation requirements are met.
Second.
All those in favor? Questions on personnel? To approve the personnel report, including supplemental updates as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Move to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?